Ever wondered how much the average man or woman actually masturbates? Or how those numbers change across different age groups? You're not alone. It's one of the most common and least openly discussed parts of human sexuality. I'm Dr. Claudia Six, clinical sexologist and men's health expert, and today we're breaking down what science actually says about masturbation. Who does it, how often, and what it might mean for your health, your mindset, and your relationships. This is a judgment-free, research-backed look at one of the most natural human behaviors. If you're new here, I post weekly videos on men's sexual health, prostate care, and performance at any age. So be sure to subscribe and share this with someone who might need clarity or confidence around this topic. Let's dive in. Masturbation is free. It's safe. And for many people, it's the most accessible and private way to experience pleasure. But how many people are actually doing it? You've probably heard the old saying, 95% of people masturbate and the other 5% are lying. But is that true? Let's look at the data. A 2010 study using the U.S. National Survey of Sexual Health and Behavior interviewed around 1,500 people and asked about their sexual habits, including masturbation. Here's what they found. Men reported masturbating consistently across nearly all age groups, from teenagers as young as 14 to adults well into their 90s. Lifetime rates, meaning people who had ever masturbated at some point, ranged from 67% to 94% depending on age. But when they were asked about masturbating in the last month, the numbers dropped. Only 43% to 69% of men said they had masturbated in the past 30 days. And among men over 70, that number dropped to just 28%. Interestingly, solo masturbation, not with a partner, was more common in two groups: teens ages 14 to 15 and men over 50. Among women, the lifetime rates were lower, between 43% and 85%. And only 21% to 50% of women reported masturbating in the past month. For women over 70, the number dropped even further to around 11.5%. So yes, there's still a gap between men and women when it comes to masturbation frequency. Now, those numbers were from 2010, but the same researchers followed up again in 2018 and found that masturbation rates among adults ages 18 to 49 stayed fairly stable over that decade. But among teens, there was a sharp decline. In 2009, around 56% of teens aged 14 to 17 said they masturbated. By 2018, that number dropped to 40%. Why the drop? Well, one theory is that with more distractions from smartphones, social media, and streaming platforms, people are simply filling their time with other activities and spending less time alone with their bodies. Among older adults, the trends seem to vary more based on culture. In more liberal societies, especially in parts of Europe and Scandinavia, masturbation is more common and less stigmatized. Men in those countries tend to report higher rates of self-pleasure. And not surprisingly, older adults with higher levels of education and better access to sex education are more likely to masturbate because they're less afraid of it, less misinformed, and more in tune with their bodies and needs. Now, let's talk about the benefits. If you missed my last video on this topic, I covered how masturbation can help with better sleep, improved mood, stress relief, and even enhanced sexual confidence and performance. A study of 3,000 European adults between the ages of 40 and 79 explored how often people masturbated, what their attitudes were toward sex, and whether they viewed it as important later in life. The study found that once again, men reported higher rates of masturbation than women. But here's what stood out. Adults who were in a relationship were more likely to masturbate than those who weren't. That might seem counterintuitive, but it suggests that masturbation isn't just about replacing intimacy. It can actually be part of a healthy sex life, even in committed partnerships. Interestingly, those who felt more satisfied with their sex lives were less likely to masturbate frequently, while those who felt frustrated or disconnected were more likely to rely on masturbation as a release. There was also a strong mental component. People who believe sexuality declines with age were far less likely to masturbate. People who believe that sex is healthy and beneficial even later in life were much more likely to continue enjoying it solo. That's important because mindset has a huge impact on sexual health, especially as we age. A separate global study by Tonga, a sexual wellness brand, surveyed over 13,000 adults. They found that around 78% of all people worldwide reported masturbating. For men, that number ranged between 92% and 98%. For women, it hovered around 76% to 78%. So the idea that everyone does it, it's not far off. But what about how often? In the US study, around 25% of people said they masturbated 2 to 3 times per month. About 20% reported doing it 2 to 3 times per week, and fewer than 20% said they did it more than 4 times per week. Among women, most reported masturbating once a week or less. But in the Tonga data from 2021, over half of people aged 18 to 24 said they masturbated weekly more than any other age group. So when do people start? On average, it's around age 15. That varies by country and culture, of course, but across most studies, mid-adolescence is the norm. So what motivates people to masturbate? Well, women tend to use it as a complement to a fulfilling sex life, something they turn to when they feel happy and connected. Men, on the other hand, are more likely to use it as a substitute when they're sexually dissatisfied or not in a relationship. Now, does that mean if your partner masturbates, they're unhappy? Not necessarily. It just means they're responding to their own physical and emotional needs. Unless masturbation starts interfering with your relationship, like skipping intimacy or preferring solo pleasure to connection, it's not a problem. And if it is a concern in your relationship, talk about it openly, respectfully, and without judgment. So why don't we talk about this more? That same Tonga study found that only about 11% to 18% of people thought masturbation was important to talk about publicly. But, interestingly, over 30% admitted to lying about their masturbation habits. That tells you everything. Despite being a normal, healthy part of life, it's still surrounded by shame and secrecy in many parts of the world. In fact, in some countries, including India, where my family is from, a much larger portion of the population believes masturbation is harmful, even though the science says otherwise. So, here's my professional take. Masturbation is not harmful. It's not immoral, and it's not shameful, unless it interferes with your daily life, your work, or your relationships. It's a completely natural, healthy way to explore your own body and experience pleasure. There's no risk of pregnancy. There's no risk of STI unless you're sharing toys and not cleaning them properly. And best of all, it's one of the simplest ways to understand what your body enjoys so you can better communicate those needs with a partner. Before we wrap up, here's something else to consider. If you're over 50 and you want to support your sexual function in a natural science-backed way, there's one supplement I recommend. It's made from watermelon extract, one of the richest sources of L-citrulline, a compound that helps boost nitric oxide in your body. That means better blood flow, stronger erections, and more confidence during intimacy. This supplement delivers a Clinical dose of citrulline in an easy daily capsule without the need to juice beets or eat pounds of watermelon rind. It's simple, it's effective, and it works especially well when paired with healthy habits like regular movement, better sleep, and open communication with your partner. You'll find the link in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe for more weekly insights on men's sexual health, prostate care, and aging with confidence. And as always, take care of yourself and thank you for watching.